Gotcha.
So, okay. So I want to get into maybe gender issues as well as children and even the elderly, because it's all ages that suffer from sort of this end result, I suppose, of this experiment, this liberal experiment. You know, you could do whatever you want, rights, everyone has rights, but what about responsibilities? There's not much talk of that anymore. So, for example, your parents took care of you growing up, but today rent is expensive. And both sexes have to work long hours, 10 hours a day sometimes, in order to just pay for good housing and take care of a family. Used to be one guy could do that on one paycheck because the norms were different. So if everyone floods the labor pool, that depresses wages. That's one of the reasons. And then corporate America loves it because they got, you know, more people working for them. But as a result, you don't take care of your parents. The ones that took care of you people stick them in nursing homes often in order so that they can work. And this is just one example. Corporate America has sold this idea that climbing the corporate ladder is actualizing yourself. And this is now the new meaning of life for many people.
Can we possibly not find a way to deal with corporate America that doesn't involve stripping economic rights from women? I'm sure there has to be a way to address these problems without forcing women back into the home. I mean, if you want there to be single income families and to be able to afford to live off of a single income, which I think is just fine, I don't think that's necessarily a socially conservative goal, because all you're talking about is raising wages, right? Like, it doesn't have to be a gender thing.
Right. I think you'll find me very different than many conservatives because I agree with raising wages. I think, first of all, I'm opposed to force. As a libertarian, I don't want force. I don't want violence. Nobody should be forcing women to do anything. But also, they shouldn't be brainwashing people into thinking that working for corporate America or corporations is going to make you happier. It isn't. And
sure.
Okay. And they sell this to both men and women. The American dream was, you know, you buy a mortgage for 30, you think, oh, you own your house, but you're actually renting the money from the bank. And then you have to work 30 years to pay that back double. So it used to be just the man who was doing that. So my point is this. I would like both sexes to opt out of the rat race, to work 4-day work weeks, and later maybe a 2-day work week with AI, and have a UBI. I think the UBI is a lot better than labor unions, for example.
So if the goal is for people to work less and to be paid more, I guess I just don't understand where this is socially conservative. I mean, no Republican is advocating for this, and tons of progressives are. It's like fully in alignment with left values.
Yeah, that's why I call myself a left libertarian, but socially. See, social conservatism is about questioning the liberalization that's going on. People aren't happier. And a lot of times what this country does, other countries do this too, but United States especially, they medicate you downstream of the problem. So there are problems upstream constantly. It affects the kids too in school. For example, ADHD, okay? And the one that, you know, everybody seems to focus on now is gender dysphoria and many other things. It's upstream. A lot of the problems can be fixed if you actually look at society. But what people do is they medicate them. They give the ADHD kids amphetamines, Adderall, Ritalin, and they say, okay, take these, and this will deal with your problem. It won't, because the problem is structural. It's systemic. We have to think systemically.
I have ADHD, and it does fix the problem, actually.
Yeah, but does it fix the underlying societal problem?
Well, my ADHD isn't caused by a societal problem. My ADHD is just a product of an imbalance in my brain chemistry, but taking Adderall fixes the issue.
You see, that's what they like to say in every case. Depression. They used to say, oh, it's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Until 2022, studies showed that, in fact, it is not necessarily the case. Meta-studies have shown that the SSRI, the inhibitors for the SRI, is actually oftentimes like a placebo. It doesn't actually, it's not the thing that is the cause of depression. And similarly with ADHD, what if I gave you a much more in-your-face answer, and maybe once you see it, you won't be able to unsee it? Would you like that?
Sure, go right ahead. I mean, I don't deny that there can be social causes to people's, mental conditions or whatever. but that doesn't mean that mental conditions aren't real, like extigent those things, you know? Maybe, for instance, there are some social environmental causes to autism. That's probably the case. It's almost certainly the case. But if a person has autism, you know, that's that. They should be treated as a person with autism. And it doesn't mean that there aren't people who wouldn't have had autism anyway.
Yeah. 1 second. By the way, if I'm not coming through well, let me know. I'll switch networks.
Well, you just stopped speaking for like...
You're right. They are real.
Hello?
Okay, wait. How's this? Is it better? Am I coming through?
I can hear you right now, yes.
Okay, perfect. I switched to 5G.
Oh.
I was on a...
Well, you gotta be careful with that, speaking of autism.
So, yeah, I don't mean autistic in the sense that people somehow started to, young kids these days, you know, call, oh, you're autistic. Doesn't mean actually autistic. I mean, yes, these actual things are downstream of real societal and chemical problem. We as a society are the most irresponsible society in history. We pollute the planet with plastic. Every year we dump more of it into the rivers. The microplastics go in our bodies. We have fossil fuels. We have factory farms. I mean, it goes on and on. Day zero of water. So this is what I care about. And I'm saying the new, we may call ourselves, you know, conservatives, liberals, whatever, but we are essentially living on an ecological credit card that our kids will have to pay. So we don't give a shit about future generations, really. And we're just trying to make ends meet because of capitalism. So to go back to ADHD, here's what happens. We stick our kids in public school, and public school is dominated by teachers who have to, you know, watch their ass, cover their ass. So, and the administrators too. They don't love the kids the way that their parents do, but their parents are not there. So kids are either raised by the street or they're raised by the school administrator, and the school administrator sees the kid. What do they want to do? They need the kids to sit down and be quiet for 8 hours a day. And so boys struggle with this the most. And what they call ADHD, see, ADHD is the new hysteria. They used to do this to women for hundreds of years. They used to say, oh, women are just uppity because they have a uterus. Hysteria is actually from the Greek hystera, which is uterus. So they had this catch-all disease, like they now have in the DSM-4 and the DSM-5. They say, well, if you have these symptoms, it's just a disease and you can medicate it. No, it's society placing their kids in essentially a prison for 8 hours a day and then picking them up to keep them out of trouble while they go and work, both the man and the woman. That's the issue.
Okay, so there's a lot here, and I'm not entirely sure where it connects to social conservatism, but I will say confidently that I think public education is a good thing, and it's basically the only way we've been able to enjoy post-industrial revolution level civil society. I don't know what alternative there could possibly be to public education as a way of mass educating everyone. ADHD certainly existed beforehand. Maybe people are getting it more often these days. I certainly agree that our school system, is desperately in need of updating. But yeah, I just I don't know how this necessarily ties into like a socially conservative agenda. What do you want to change about the world specifically? I mean.
Oh, so much. Well, I'll tell you about the solutions, but you just mentioned industrial revolution. You're essentially the model, right? To train kids to be corporate drones or sit down for 10 hours and so on. This is exactly the industrial model, the factories, and that's what they had in England. So what you're having today, you can't think of a better way. This is modeling it on essentially 19th century industrial revolution in England. We can go way past that. So in that way, I'm a progressive, right? I want a UBI. I want online courses. I want an AI tutor for everybody. I mean, it's easy now. I mean, this year, Salman Khan gave a talk about the 2 sigma problem. Now, the 2 sigma problem is the 2 sigma phenomenon or whatever. It basically says that if each student has an individual tutor that attends to their specific questions and needs, the bell curve disappears. They actually all do well, like pretty much all. So if you have AI and you have technology, and we had this conversation before, like I'm a tech bro, whatever. Yes, I am a tech bro, proudly. And I think that technology can help rescue us from, before we had capitalism and socialism and ways to organize humans, but now we can actually use technology to improve all these things.
Doesn't it?
And the cost structure is different.
Isn't it contradictory that we open this by talking about the dehumanization of social spaces and the fact that people are interacting less? And now you're suggesting we replace one of the most consistent, like, social environments that people are raised in, school, by being taught by an AI model with no feelings or personality?
Yeah, that's a very interesting point. See, we've already failed in a lot of our things. And I would love to go to other issues as well, but just to stay on this one. We failed in the way that we organize society. I mean, I remember there's a Cadillac commercial, 2014. It's like, why do we work so hard? Why don't we take August off? It's because we're hardworking achievers. That's why. And they're trying to like praise, the fact that Americans love to say, I have no free time.
Okay, wait, but
imagine people saying, I'm so poor. I love it. I have
but you're
no
not
money.
addressing what I said, though.
Right, technology.
Well, why would
technology,
anyone want to be taught by an AI?
Well, technology is the great empowering force that has been throughout the 20th century. So everything you do today, you use voice over IP, you use computers, personal computers, you use printers, and so on, electricity. All of these things democratized access. The things that were previously gate-kept by institutions. If you wanted to print something, you had to go to a newspaper, a radio station, then the web came out. Then I remember I was a kid, it was like $1 a minute to call long distance. Now it's free because of voice over IP. So like the technology takes the cost to zero. Why wouldn't we take advantage of that? Obviously.
Okay, but again, like, so what are you suggesting specifically? That every child be required to be given a Chat GPT lesson for 4 hours a day?
I don't believe in requirements. I think people want to help their kids. The first thing I would do is give everyone a UBI, and I would give the UBI in local currencies. And then I would tax back the UBI through a progressive tax system. So they would tax things like factory farms, plastic pollution, fossil fuels at the point of emission, all these things that we want less of. That's how we remove money from circulation. But we put it into circulation, not through the banking system, which is how we do it today. Our money comes from banks and underwriters. And the underwriters have to guess if the business will pay it back in 5 years. The UBI goes into circulation based on people's needs. If you want to get Gillette razors, you go ahead and do that. If you want to get an online course for your kid, you do that. But the main thing is you don't work 10 hours a day. You each work much less, and you spend time with your kids, which is what the kids actually need.
But the reason that we have compulsory education is because leaving it up to the parent is actually a really bad idea. Because there are shitty parents. And if you don't get an education as a child, you're kind of fucked. In order to keep up with modern society, you need a pretty robust education that spans a good portion of your life. And if your parents just don't give that to you because they're ideologically opposed, indifferent, lazy, hateful, whatever, you're just fucked. Like, you would have a society full of 18-year-old illiterates whose parents just for some reason or another did not think it worthwhile to educate their children via AI, which I still haven't really gotten an answer to how that would work.
Look at the Salman Khan
and it would be
lecture.
a net detriment.
Individualized instruction. Well, look, okay, there's a couple directions I can take this, but the one that's more interesting to me is, you say you're a libertarian, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you do believe that people should have the freedom to choose how to spend their time, or how, what to spend their money on and stuff like that?
Within limits. I mean, we both believe in taxation, as you've described. That would be taking their money. They wouldn't need to give me permission to do that if I ran the government.
I don't necessarily believe in taxation the way it's done today. I would abolish the individual income tax completely.
You just said a progressive tax.
Yeah, on corporations, on maybe extremely wealthy people that put together trusts or other non-human entities. Sure, I don't have any sympathy for non-human entities, but I wouldn't tax individuals just for working. I mean, that's ridiculous.
I mean, I don't think it's ridiculous. The state is the one printing the currency, so it makes sense that it would tax the currency.
I don't want the state to print the currency. I'm in favor of currencies being issued by smaller entities, like a neighborhood or a city.
Why would anyone accept a currency that was printed in an adjacent neighborhood?
Why would anyone accept a currency
that was printed in an adjacent neighborhood? Why would
That
you
in
break it down into so many different currencies? The point of a currency is that it's meant to be a divisible exchange
well,
unit of
the
worth.
great question. Well, you happen to be speaking to someone who's built a company called Intercoin, which deals with this exact problem. Why would anyone use the internet, and why would they use an adjacent network or some network around the world? Because they're all interoperating.
But we're
I just
talking
say,
about currency. The point of currency is that it can be backed up by the perceived value of state power, or of if it's fiat currency, of a given amount of gold or whatever else. I mean, it has to be backed by something. But if it's just a neighborhood currency, why would that be used? I mean,
this idea
we
that it
saw
has to be
examples of
backed
this with
by
like the Holy Roman Empire, right? Where like every little kingdom and fiefdom would issue its own currency, but
Oh, you
it
don't
was
have to go that
it was a
far. In this
mess.
country, they had free banking era where every bank would issue its own banknotes. So this existed in the 19th century until the government, you say backing, you know what the government does? It uses violence. It sends in
Yes.
the men with guns. And unlike those other libertarians you talk
Okay,
to,
wait, you know
I
what
am
those
going to say
banks, in the 19th century did to assure the strength of their currency, right?
a lot of those banks failed, actually.
Okay, yeah, I
Yes.
know, because that system is terrible, but do you know what they did to secure the value of their currency?
They didn't give out crazy loans to people who couldn't pay them back.
They also relied on violence.
Look, the entire system relies on violence. The capitalist system relies on violence no less than the communist, so-called, or socialist systems. They just enforce it differently. So they would evict people from their houses for non-payment. If a person refused to leave, the same men with guns say, well, the bank says it belongs to this absentee landlord, so you're out. Look, I mean, we in this country passed laws
I
to
feel like
protect them.
I feel like we're like 17 layers deep on a question, because the question was about AI teaching children, and then it was the effects of children not receiving an education because their parents didn't give them one. And then you asked me if I'm a libertarian, and now we're
Well, yeah,
talking
you're a
about
libertarian who believes that the state should use violence in order to back up the
as you
currency.
said, all systems use violence.
Yeah, but you're trying to use a concentration of power. Let me be clear, because I want to understand the basics. This time I want to understand your viewpoint. My viewpoint is that I am suspicious of any concentration of power in federal governments, in large corporations. I don't believe that Twitter, one guy should control the whole thing, and so on. So for me, I'm consistent. I want to decentralize power. I want to
So
give,
decentralized violence.
I guess, but lesser violence, right? The violence that sends people to war, the violence that commits a genocide would not be as possible if there was no center. It could just say, well, this is what we're going to do. We're going to kill all the Jews.
Well, that's usually what happens, is you have a bunch of smaller feudal lords, and then one of them gets strong and takes power, and then they do become the centralized violence. In the absence of a mediator like the state, you're describing a bunch of petty warlords, one of whom will eventually be stronger than the others.
I would reduce the state to one specific function. And that function is exactly preventing the violence from happening in the first place. For example, I would have a world police rather than armies. So yes, you're right that when it comes to violence, that one thing you do need to it would be nice to have a monopoly on violence. Yes. But that monopoly has to be carefully kept in check with checks and balances. So the world police would not be the United States. It would be more like the UN, peacekeeping force or something. And for very, very importantly, if it's deployed to a region, no one in that group could have a horse in the race. It would have to be from countries that have nothing to do with the regional conflict. Then we would avoid a ton of wars.
Yeah, so you're describing a world government, which I'm in favor of.
Well, again, I am not describing an all-encompassing world government as you seem to do with the world currency, and that can cut you off, that you can't buy anything anywhere in the world, with a social credit system that will punish you gradually.
I'm not in favor of a social credit system.
Okay, so then I ask you practically, how are you going to prevent a world government that has all the guns and all the power and controls the currency like we'll have with the CBDCs and the national IDs? How will you prevent in your world? You say government is the only way. So we're going to be living in, it's going to be their world. We just live in it, and they could cut us off at any point.
Well, the point is that it's a democratic society that's highly federalized, with systems that allow for individual participation at a local level, kind of like what we have in the United States. So it's not really their world, right? Like, America isn't Joe Biden's America. Joe Biden represents a conglomerate of interests, largely an oligarchical one, but that's why I advocate for socialism, because I believe that under a proletarian state, you could have an elected leader who would represent proletarian interests.
Yeah, and every single time people have these rosy things, name me one country. You're just like the laissez-faire libertarians. Name me one country where this has worked. Name me one country that has
Democracy?
stably had a nice, benevolent democracy that has never corrupted and never took power.
Stably had for how? Wait, for how long? There are multiple democracies
You're
that
saying it
have
should be
been
forever
stable.
or something, because as soon as your democracy is taken over, hey, weren't you opposed to the Trump January 6th
Well, I'm
attempt?
sorry. Are you asking me to construct a form of government that is perfect and will never fail, no matter what?
I'm not, well, I don't have to do that because I want to strip the government of most of its functions, right? Except for the one where it prevents one group from massacring another group.
Except you would just create a system of warlords. But yeah, no, most democracies in the world today, at least like, Western democracies, have been more or less stable for a time. I don't think there's any system of government or any system of non-government that can ever be considered perfectly stable, like forever. I don't think that's a real thing.
Thank you. Well, listen, I think that's a good note on which to move to sort of change topic a little bit because we were going to talk about Ukraine and Russia. And I just want to kind of delve into that a little bit. As a libertarian, I find that this, again, there's a new thing in town that wasn't around for most of history. And that new thing is the borders that the United Nations has, since the United Nations exists, the borders will never change. And like the procedure for changing a border and allowing, say, Kosovo or Hong Kong.
I'm sorry. Could you hold for just one moment? I just have to do something really quickly. I'm sorry. One of my cats took such a smelly shit that I thought something was wrong. But it wasn't. It was just pigeon being disgusting.
How many cats do you have?
I have 3 cats.
Wow. All right. And why is your icon Mr. Freeze? I was curious about that.
Mr. Freeze?
I thought that was Mr. Freeze on your icon everywhere.
Oh no, it's a TV head. It's a reference to an anime called Fooly Cooly, which I'm fond of.
Oh, okay. See, I learned something. I thought it was Mr. Freeze. So maybe you throw the cold water on conservatives. Anyway, what I want to say, what was I saying? Oh yeah, you said that you can't have something forever, something stable forever, and I agree. A lot of the country's borders that were set up, especially in the Middle East with the Sykes-Picot Agreement, for example, they're tinderboxes. Demographics change. And even without them changing, you have one part of the country thinks one thing, like maybe they're Shiites or Kurds. Another one is Sunnis. And so there's constant sectarian strife. And I'm saying that a lot of what happened in Ukraine, you could see the elections, you could see by polls and so on. On all these issues, that was a tinderbox as well. And what you do with these tinderboxes is you allow democracy to function. So if you believe in democracy and everything you just said, which is non-violently solving differences, right, like we're supposed to do in this country, we shouldn't allow January 6th to succeed. And similarly, we shouldn't foment revolutions and regime change in other countries because that F's them up. And that's what the United States and Russia and China sometimes do. And I essentially condemn them all for doing that and how much they do that.
So what is the question?
I guess, do you recognize the role of the United States and more broadly, sort of NATO members in the war, in making the war in Ukraine almost inevitable?
No, I do not recognize it. I think that Russia, given the Putin regime, was basically guaranteed to invade Ukraine at some point.
And why do you think that?
Because Putin's basically said so. The arguments that he's made about the invasion of Ukraine, its justifications, are rooted back in, like, restoring the Russian Empire. Putin is a fascist. Fascists like to do land grabs. It's pretty in line with, what he'd be engaged in.
While I'm sympathetic to like having that kind of one-dimensional narrative,
I don't think it's one-dimensional. I think it's a pretty straightforward thing to say based on the statements that he's made directly. Like I think that this is one of those cases of informed simplicity where it looks like it might be complicated if you just kind of vaguely know about what's going on, but if you know a lot about it, it's actually really obvious and straightforward.
I
Like
do know a lot about it.
Putin has been a warmongerer and a fascist for basically the whole time he's been in power. He's been warmongering and doing fascism the entire time, and now
Okay.
he's doing the same thing he's always been doing, just in Ukraine's direction, which he's been indicating he wants to do for a long time. So
You could say that Modi in India is a fascist. You could say that
I do
the
say that.
government, right? But they haven't went and annexed other countries, and you don't expect them to. So just being a fascist or whatever you're saying is not just enough.
I don't know. Wait,
accept the award to be inevitable.
being a
right?
fascist doesn't mean you're guaranteed to annex land, but also India has fought over land. The Kashmiri region, parts of Pakistan, Bangladesh, India has been engaged in constant land disputes with its neighbors.
Well, any country. Look at. I was just in Azerbaijan, Baku, right, and I got to hear their side.
I did not make the argument that every fascist will annex land, only that it is something fascists like to do.
Well, hold on. You just said that it was pretty much inevitable because Putin is a fascist, and that's what fascists do, they annex land.
I said
That
it was
your
pretty much inevitable for a number of reasons associated with Putin, and I listed them out. Not just
What were
him
the
being a
other
fascist,
Right. What were the other ones?
him being a warmongerer, him doing land grabs, him arguing that he wants to restore the Russian Empire and that he hearkens to that era as a sign of Russian political and national power. His agitation at post-Soviet Warsaw Pact independence nations, conflicts that he's had with the Chechens, conflicts that he's had with the Baltic states. He's said so, like he said this stuff. You know, I don't think it's that ambiguous with him. Georgia, yeah, the state of Georgia.
Georgia? Oh, yes, yes. I thought you meant the U.S. state. Look, I have a few questions for you. Can you quote anything that Putin actually said that would imply that he wants to restore the Russian Empire or the Soviet Union?
Off the top of my head, I cannot directly quote him, but you're free to research the issue on your own time.
I did research the issue. The thing is, the same man who said, he took the Winston Churchill quote and said, he who doesn't miss the Soviet Union has no heart, but he who wants to restore it has no brain. Same guy said that. He does not want to restore the Soviet Union as far as anything he's ever said.
Then why does he keep attacking and invading and expressing soft and hard power over post-Soviet nations?
No, that is the right question. And I don't mean to channel the iRobot, but that is, Detective, the right question. See, the thing is, that is what imperialist countries do, including our own. See, George W. Bush would fit all these criteria, yes? Fascist, invading, occupying, correct?
No.
George W.?
George W. Bush didn't try to annex any land in the Middle East.
Since when is annexing the green the red line? Like,
so it's a huge difference. Fascists tend to be obsessed with the idea of expanding the nation and consolidating the ethnicity. So annexation is a big part of the fascist narrative because of blood and soil. That's literally like a part of their belief system.
So this is where I think we have a disagreement.
No, we don't have a disagreement. You're just incorrect. Warmongering. You
don't know what I'm going to say.
It doesn't matter what you're going to say. Warmongering is a practice engaged in by every form of government throughout all of human history.
You don't know what I'm going to say.
What I'm going to say wait. Warmongering is something all governments do. Annexation is a different kind of behavior, especially in the modern world.
Let's look only at annexation. Fine. Let's look only at annexation. And I am trying to tell you, here's where we disagree.
Sorry, 1 second, really quick. I have a quote from chat, from Putin. Since time immemorial, the people living in the southwest of what has historically been Russian land have called themselves Russians and Orthodox Christians. So I will start with the fact that modern Ukraine was entirely created by Russia, or to be more precise, by Bolshevik communist Russia. This process started practically right after the 1917 revolution, and Lenin and his associates did it in a way that was extremely harsh on Russia by severing what is historically Russian land. So he's constantly arguing that Ukraine is basically
nothing about that says, and by the way, we are going to go and annex them back.
Yeah, that's because that's not how the world works. No leader says, oh yeah, so because of this, we will annex them. Obviously.
Okay, so let me try to steelman your argument.
Also, he did annex it. He annexed Crimea.
So you're, okay, hold on a second. So you're, okay, I'll steelman that too. So you're saying
The
Putin
annexation of Crimea?
is a fascist, right? Annexation of Crimea. So Putin is Crimea, by the way. Okay, you just threw that one in there. Crimea did not want to live under Ukraine since 1991. If you look at their actual referendum in 1991, and anyone wants to look
That's
it up,
really tough, but voting 49% to stay with the country that you're in doesn't mean the neighboring country gets to invade and take over your land.
they actually voted 94% to be an independent of Ukraine republic
Yes,
in
and then there was a
1991.
subsequent vote on whether or not
Nobody cares what Crimea thinks,
so
and this is the
okay, so like one vote one time means that an adjacent nation
no,
gets to annex them in 2014.
no one gets to annex anybody. In
Oh,
my world, all of this is garbage. This is the government's, this is exactly the problem I'm talking about. You try to whitewash the Russian government. I know it sounds funny by saying it's Putin's war, it's one man Putin. And I am here to tell you it's the entire Russian government. You could take
okay.
Yeltsin, Boris Yeltsin, and he opposed the expansion of NATO. You could take Medvedev,
Wait,
who,
why are we
by the way,
talking about NATO?
It wasn't Putin who was president when Russia invaded Georgia. It was Medvedev. Every single president of Russia, every single one, would oppose the expansion of NATO.
I don't care whether they would oppose it. What does this
No,
have to do
I'm
with
saying
what we
it's
were talking about?
right, but this is what you have to understand. It's governments. It's the whole shebang. It's the United States government. Now, let me show
Wait,
you.
is the United States government controls Putin?
No, see, you're not letting me finish my sentence.
Because you
know,
run through like
trust me
60
for the moment.
incorrect statements, and then you like go off on a
Okay,
different
here's the
subject.
correct statement. The U.S. government, since the inception of the United States, has annexed, genocide.
Wait, hold on. I'm uninterested in this conversation. We were talking about Ukraine.
No, but this is where you're navel gazing. You are talking about
You are
one
the
guy.
one navel gazing. You keep talking about anything but the subject. We never got answers on AI or on what would happen if parents don't educate their children, or like there are so many subjects that have been left behind to wander to anyone.
Tack. Give me 10 seconds and I will answer your questions directly. How about that? But you have to ask me a question and then listen to my answer, if that's okay.
But you were asking me questions. I wasn't asking you questions.
So can I ask you a question then?
Sure.
Okay. So this is the premise to my question. The United States consists of three parts: the original colonies in the east, the Louisiana Purchase in the middle, and what is California all the way down to Texas with all the Spanish city names. That was Mexico. The United States simply took the land that is bigger than all of Mexico is right now from Mexico 100 years ago and annexed it, just like it did with Hawaii, in the Kingdom of Hawaii and annexed. You're saying that is Putin. I'm saying it's imperialism. This is what big countries...
At no point did I make the argument that only Putin is capable of annexing territory.
Okay. So you have to, again, think systemically, just like with the first discussion with the...
I do. I have never indicated that I don't think this is a systemic issue with Russia.
So I guess if there's a theme to all of this, is that you fix the problem upstream and you think systemically, okay? And
how do you suggest fixing the problem with Russia being fascist?
Every imperialist country is fascist by your definition.
No, that is not my definition. Not even remotely.
What is your definition then of fact?
The fact that you arrived at that interpretation of my statement indicates to me that nothing I say at this point will affect the next words out of your mouth. So
see, this is the thing. First you define a term, and then we could both decide whether your term applies to a thing or not. If you don't define it, then it's up to you. I guess by fiat.
At no point did I say what you think I said, though.
Okay, so say it again. Sorry, maybe
I don't know what we're talking about, though.
Define what you mean by fascist. You call half of America fascist. What do you mean by fascist?
A palingenetic ultranationalist state that is obsessed with ethnic conquest, national supremacy, that is highly authoritarian, militarily regimented, obsessed with patriarchy. There are a lot of characteristics associated with fascism, but those are the ones that I take.
Okay,
being imperialistic
is China and United States as well.
Being imperialistic is a component of it, but that does not in and of itself mean that a country is
everything
fascist.
You said applies to the United States today and China.
A palingenetic ultranational? No, it doesn't. China is fascist. America is not palingenetic.
Okay, so 1 out of 2, you already agree. You give me China, correct?
Yeah, China's fascist.
Chinese locking up the Uyghurs in labor camps and re-educating them. That doesn't sound fascist to you?
I have just said twice now that China is fascist.
Okay. So the United States is, as you say, there's so many conservatives here, not the type that I am, that say that there's Christian nationalism, they're nationalists. Trump called himself a nationalist openly. I did a video on socialism versus nationalism, Bernie versus Trump. Yes, this country chooses nationalists, all the white nationalists emboldened by Trump. The nationalists are the people that are against the quote international Jews, also against globalists, and all of those things are flavors of America First nationalism. But it's not just America First. The America First guys are actually nicer because they don't go invading other countries 1,000 miles away. It's the you know
Yes,
the neoliberals, I
yes,
guess, or
it's just like how the Nazis, before they took power, said that they were primarily interested in unifying the Aryan people and did not have aims outside of that. The reason they pursued Lebensraum and annexed the Sudetenland in Austria is because they were trying to unify their German folk. But they had no interest in moving outside of that, right?
again, they did. So
Okay,
my point to you
so
is that
maybe fascists are militaristic and imperialistic, and they're
they
not
are.
secretly.
The United States is the most militaristic, imperialistic. It took over the entire world. It has
We have
800
not taken
bases.
over the entire world.
The rest of the world has 30 bases combined. We have 800.
Do you know
The
why
United
we have
States
military bases in
supports
most of
everyone
those
else.
nations?
Yes,
It's
because we already took over everything
no,
around.
it's because they're allies and they like having the most powerful military in the world there to shore up their defenses.
I don't know how you can be a libertarian
That
and
is
then
that
carry
is
water for the military-industrial
I'm not
complex.
no, that's not carrying water for the military industrial complex. That is literally why we're there. They invite us. They like having us there.
Yeah, yeah, they hate us for our freedoms. I've
No,
heard it
wait,
all.
wait, that's the opposite of what I'm saying. Okay, can you understand why a country that is allied with the United States, let's say, I don't know, France
Mm-hmm.
or Poland, let's say Poland.
Yeah, let's go
Poland
invade Vietnam with France. Sure.
Poland and the
Go ahead.
US are allies. People in Poland really like America. As I understand from polling, they just really like this country. So
Okay.
can you understand why Poland might like having US military bases in their country?
Of course, they also despise, well, not all. I never want to paint everyone with one brush, but by and large, Polish are probably the most anti-Russians because they don't enjoy. Uh, Ukraine used to belong to Poland. A lot of the Galicia region was Polish, and then Russians actually kicked their butt, and like they don't like Russians also. So that's a big factor as well, and I can understand them.
Okay, so they might want to have US military bases there because if there are US military bases there, that would mean that they are assured protection from us. Because if they're invaded and our men get attacked in their country, that's an
Mm-hmm.
attack on US soil.
Mm-hmm.
So
I understand you, but
it's mutually beneficial. That's not imperialism. That's just allied nations.
okay, do you know how you try to deprogram conservatives from things that they say and truly believe by giving them data and facts and trying to get them to think for themselves, correct? So I'm going to try to deprogram you from the statist uh, utterances that you
So
have. You're the leader of the world.
what part of what I just said is inaccurate?
It's not that it's inaccurate. It is
Well
that it's
then,
selectively choosing the only part. It's cherry picking the narrative in order to carry water for the military industrial
no.
complex.
It's an acknowledgement that these subjects are more complicated than America is a big bad imperial power, which to be
Great.
fair, we are, but most of our engagement with our military abroad has to do with us maintaining relationships with our allies overseas. I don't think it's fair to call that imperialist. If that's the case, then defensive treaties between allied neighboring nations are imperialist, and that seems like a
Everyone
misuse
calls
of the
everything
term.
they ever do defensive. The IDF is called the Israel Defense Force. Everyone always says
So
defensive.
again, wait, you're going on to another topic now, all right? Our bases in Poland are defensive.
Not necessarily,
Yes.
because the bases. Okay, you don't know the history, but I've sent you
I
a
know
link.
the history.
Okay, I've sent you a link. If you want, you can open it up to your listeners. Those links in there are from mainstream, New York Times, CNN, actual NATO website, and I show you by mainstream sources that all of this is
What link?
propaganda. NATO is not a defensive alliance.
Wait,
only.
we're not talking about NATO. I was talking
Okay.
about military bases in Poland, U.S. military bases.
So remember the link I've sent you where
No.
not Putin, not Medvedev, but Yeltsin objected to Poland being added to NATO, and then NATO,
cares?
Clinton putting the missile defense shield, again, defensive, in Romania. But this is the thing.
Okay,
The defensive, every analyst will tell you, can easily be flipped to offensive. These same installations can become, they said it's against Iran, actually, they're defending against Iran. But like, you could say anything. That's the point.
Yes.
It's useful idiocy to just simply parrot what they say.
Okay,
just
so, okay, well, in that case, the fact that Russia has ICBMs means that they have positioned military stations that are quote-unquote defensive, but could actually be offensive.
Correct. Russia is also an imperialist
okay,
power.
so everyone is offensive against everyone, because everyone has military capabilities that extend across the planet then.
Why do you think the Budapest Memorandum happened and why Ukraine gave up its nukes? Because Clinton and the United States were worried. I sent you that LA Times article. It says they were aimed at the United States. They were worried that Ukraine's too much friends with Russia is going to be aiming ICBMs mostly at the US. So they're like, let's get rid of all these other satellite, countries.
They wanted to cut down on nuclear proliferation and keep it primarily to countries they thought they could deal with.
And then in 2010, NATO undertook, by their words on their own website, the largest disarmament project in the world, ridding Ukraine of defensive weaponry that it had, and then offering itself as a solution.
I guess they should have kept it, or they should have joined NATO. That would have been nice.
Yeah, no shit. They should have kept their own defensive weapons, obviously.
Or joined NATO.
So yeah, but this is the thing, you see. Under the guise, this happened throughout history. An empire would go to the disaffected members of the other empire on the periphery and be like, we're going to be your friends.
Ukraine isn't a part of Russia's empire.
Say that again?
Ukraine isn't a part of Russia's empire.
No, former empire. So just take Russia out of this for a second. A similar situation, the Ottoman Empire. When the Ottoman Empire fell apart, they had by then genocided Armenians, they had genocided Greeks, pretty much all the Christians. I think there was also Assyrians that they genocided. Again, we're talking about in the hundreds of thousands. Of course, they're going to dispute that. They're going to say it was a civil war, whatever. The point is there was instability between Muslims and Christians. So today, the Turks are hated by many of the Christians, the Armenians, the Greeks, and also the Kurds, because the Kurds want their own state. So when an empire falls apart, it's normal for these groups that previously lived under it to feel a sense of nationalism and want to build their own country. This is normal. And then if you approach these groups and say, hey, let's make an alliance against Turkey and let's surround Turkey and contain Turkey because they genocided people in the past. So that's a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're literally back to an animal.
What is the issue with this?
The issue is that this is what empires do. They justify it by nice words like, we are here to help.
So wait, stop. No, specifically, explain to me what the moral wrong is with us offering support and assistance to Ukraine.
The moral wrong is the same as what we're doing now in Taiwan. It's the same as what we're doing around the world.
Just focus on the Ukraine. What is wrong with what we did there?
On one area out of the entire globe that we're taking.
Yes, I do need you to focus on one area in particular. What is wrong with what we did?
Later, I'll ask why that area, but sure. What's wrong with it is it's like if I painted a red stripe on a person and sent him out into the bullfight arena and said, "Don't worry, man, I got your back. But you go ahead. Here are the weapons. You go, and we're gonna." What's wrong is what.
So by having Ukraine join NATO, we would have made them a bigger target.
To see what's wrong, all you have to do is look at all the past instances. We've done this with Afghanistan. We've given them the Stinger missile.
Stop. Ukraine.
Why? Okay. In science, in any area of life, you have to look for patterns in order to understand anything. No, we don't.
There are no patterns. Ukraine.
No patterns.
Explain to me how. Explain to me how we have made Ukraine more vulnerable by offering it a position in NATO, should it get its shit together, and giving it weapons.
That is exactly. NATO didn't want to be in Ukraine. Okay, fine. I'll answer you directly. During Yushchenko, during George W. Bush's time, Ukraine did not want to be in NATO. All the polls showed this. Pew, Gallup, everybody. By and large, Ukraine did not want NATO. That didn't stop Bush, George W. Bush, the warmonger, from deciding for some reason to work with the Ukrainian president, Yushchenko, to get Ukraine into NATO anyway.
Okay,
Then
so
the
you wait,
Ukraine,
hold
hold
on,
up,
wait, 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 wait. So wait,
finish
hold
my
on, wait, wait,
answer.
wait, stop. We're gonna
Can you
do
finish
this
my
bit by
answer?
wait, no, stop.
5 seconds.
No, stop
I
talking.
would have been over
We're
already.
gonna do
Okay,
this bit by bit. So
go ahead.
Ukraine does not rule by referendum. Even if the population is unpopular with something, or even if the population thinks something is unpopular or undesirable, that does not mean that leaders of Ukraine cannot talk with our leaders.
I'm trying to deprogram you. You
So
claim you're a libertarian.
stop. So you implied there was something sinister about
Yes. Do you
George
believe
Bush.
that
No,
people wanted?
stop. You
Okay.
implied there was something sinister about George Bush talking with Ukraine's leaders about admitting them into NATO, even though the thing wasn't popular at the time. There is nothing weird about that. Leaders talk
Hey,
all
let's
the
get into
time
that.
about
I won't let you
future.
get away
No,
with just saying.
stop. About future potential agreements or the potential of defensive alliances. And also, nations don't usually base their interest in defensive alliances on national referendum. We don't do that in the US. I don't know why we would do
It
that
wasn't a
anywhere else.
referendum. It was a poll, and people's exact reason was antagonizing Russia, and they were right.
It doesn't.
This exact scenario is what they didn't want.
It doesn't matter. You implied that George Bush was being sinister in some fashion by talking to Ukraine's leadership despite
Are you literally
a poll
defending
result.
George W. Bush? Okay, what are we doing over there? Can I ask you that question? Is off limits to ask? What is the United States doing in Ukraine in 2004, 5, 6, 7? What are we doing there?
We want to
Why are we
promote
offering
alliances with as many nations as possible.
George Washington warned about this.
Stop.
But I'll tell you
Stop.
something. Why are we doing these alliances? Out of the goodness of our hearts?
No, because it's beneficial to us.
What's beneficial to us is flipping the neighbors of our geopolitical foes against them, weakening them.
Yeah, no shit.
Creating a quagmire for them.
Uh-huh.
That is what we do. That's what we've done. They've done it to us in Vietnam. We did it to them in Afghanistan. This is what these great powers
serves our interest to have allies.
These are not allies. They're dying.
Ukraine. Wait, no, stop. Ukraine is our ally, definitionally. It serves our interest to have allies. You're like, have you considered there might be a reason why we want to have allies? Isn't it to America's benefit to have allies? Yes. Of
course it's a benefit if you're a war hawk and you think that.
No, wait, no, stop. You did it again. It's not war hawk to want to be allies with the country. That's the opposite of Warhawk, actually.
But I do want to deprogram you at least in one area. But I need to speak for 30 seconds or 20 seconds.
You've spoken for 30-second intervals and more multiple times, but it usually leads to you moving to different topics. I'm trying to keep you on a topic.
You said that you support democracy and holding your government to account. Did you not say that?
Yeah, certainly.
Government. Okay. If the people of Ukraine, by and large, in majority, do not want Ukraine to join NATO. All the polls show this, 2009. If they elect Yanukovych, who puts an end to the NATO integration, and then we go and essentially foment a revolution to remove the sitting president.
You're doing it again. The Euromaidan was a representation of legitimate Ukrainian discontent with Yanukovych's decision to withdraw from EU participation, which the overwhelming majority of Ukrainians wanted, and move towards Russia because Yanukovych was a found Russian puppet and a deeply corrupt man. It's interesting how your opposition to state corruption ends the moment you're in favor of the unpopular government behavior.
You're just being very inconsistent because on the one hand, you're saying that the government can do what it wants independent.
No, I'm not. No, stop. Again, no, stop. You're saying something very dumb, okay? What? Leaders in a government are allowed to talk with our leaders about future military alliances. It does not matter what a poll said. That is not in any way a negation of democratic principles. That's fine. No.
Demilitarization.
Stop.
Why don't you care?
No, well, I don't, because the stuff you're saying is stupid and irrelevant. I'm helping you, okay? Trust me. I'm trying to get you on track. I'm deprogramming you from imbecility. Okay, listen.
You're going to have to listen to what I'm saying afterwards.
What you are talking about right now is irrelevant.
According to you.
Yes,
go ahead.
Correct. No, that's all I have to say. So find another thing to talk about.
Can I download some information?
Is it another thing to talk about, or is it the same thing as before?
No, this is the thing. That we're on the thing, okay? First of all, for someone who opposes January 6th, it's not good to overthrow.
We did this before. We did this before. January 6th was about overriding a democratic election and imposing a fascist on the government. Euromaidan was because the insanely corrupt leader Yanukovych had started putting forward anti-protest laws that would have made him a dictator. Euromaidan was pro-democracy. January 6th was anti-democracy. There is no hypocrisy here. You will not get me on it.
That's exactly the type of biased talking points.
No,
you know, people say
no, that is not a
points.
biased talking point. They're just two different things.
Okay, they're literally repeated. I've heard phrases. How many times have you heard phrases like "they hate us for our freedoms"?
I have no idea why you keep bringing that up. I've never said anyone hates us for our freedoms.
All these phrases are pushed as propaganda to the people in order to
What
support
phrase?
the necessary thing. In this case, it's unjustified and unprovoked. For example, there's a bunch of them. It's repeated on government websites. It's repeated verbatim in all the.
What is?
Unjustified and unprovoked is always.
What statement is repeated?
The word Russia's invasion of Ukraine. So, like the word unjustified and unprovoked.
Yes.
Someone came up with that, right? It's just like after 9/11 when they pulled, the crusade against evil.
What are you talking about?
They had axis of evil as a thing. There's a lot of things that they just put in your brain and you just repeat it.
Oh, wait, stop. Okay, wait, hold on. I'm going to cut you off again. Nothing that you're saying means anything, and I'm not listening. Try again.
Okay. The government. See, I'm a libertarian, so I'm sorry. I speak libertarianese. Okay.
Yeah, I know.
The big
you do in ways that you don't understand. But yes, continue.
Okay, but I hope you understand this. Your government comes up with phrases, okay, and then they test them and see how they.
I'm getting bored again. I want objective answers on what is morally right, or I want descriptive and prescriptive claims. I'm not No, stop. Stop. Because you said, wait, hold on. You just said, here's the fact. But what you're about to do is wild conjecture.
No, you don't know what I'm about to do.
I do actually.
My conjecture. No, you literally did not.
I do actually. I know. I'm inside your mind, and I know that you were about to do wild conjecture and narrativization.
I don't know how you obviously hear yourself, so you're unironically saying these things. I'm in your mind. I'm always right. I'm the guy who's right, and all these other leftists are wrong. Come on, man. You got.
I do often say these things. That is true. You have me down to a T here. Look, note we're like 57 subjects off of the thing that we were originally talking about here. I don't even know what perspective
you're not letting me.
You asked me if I thought there was a reason to believe that Russia would have invaded Ukraine anyway, no matter what, and I gave you a bunch of them, including explicit statements from Putin, where he talked about how he considered it a part of Russia's historical territory. And so, right off the bat, right off the bat, I cited examples of why I believe this war was inevitable. And how did you engage with that? You didn't. You didn't engage with it. You just moved on to another topic, like you always do.
You just cut off everything I'm saying. That's not the same thing. I do engage. I try to engage in many different ways. One of them is trying to deprogram you. You support the state.
You should stop with that particular method.
You support the state. You support the U.S.
What do I support the U.S. doing?
Around the world.
No, wait, hold on. What specifically do I support the U.S. doing?
Well, this is what you've said. Your words. It's nothing wrong with approaching the neighbors of our geopolitical rivals, China and Russia, and simply offering to have a military alliance against that geopolitical rival.
Hold on. NATO isn't a geopolitical alliance against Russia. There's nothing in NATO that says it's an against Russia thing. It's just a shared military alliance.
So in the 90s, when the USSR fell apart, why was NATO around? This is the Bernie Sanders question. Why? What was NATO? Who were NATO defending against exactly? Aliens? Panama?
No, Russia.
Okay.
So that doesn't mean that it's a military alliance against Russia.
No, stop.
No, there's a difference. There's a critical difference here. NATO isn't an organization constructed to fight Russia. Russia was just the geopolitical threat. There were talks of adding Russia into NATO. That's how considerate they were of the idea that NATO might expand beyond just being a not Russian military alliance.
Do you know your history? Do you know? Okay,
I know. Wait. To be clear and to answer in future instances, I know everything. Now, with this case, specifically, it is not NATO's fault if Russia keeps being militarily aggressive to their neighbors. That's just not anyone's fault but Russia's. Okay. Maybe Russia should stop being militarily aggressive.
Yeah, it's like saying, that cornered animal should definitely.
They're not a cornered animal. They're not cornered. They're not being threatened. They're not cornered. They're not being threatened.
Says you. This is
Yes, and
the
I'm
crux of
correct,
it.
as we established.
You're the one who says, I am correct. Trust me. We're
Yes.
not going to kill you like we've done with Native Americans and
Well,
Mexicans
is
and
there
everyone else.
anything that Russia has that might make it impossible to invade them? Can you think of anything Russia has that
We're not going to
guarantees...
invade them. We're going to destroy them from within. Come on.
Excuse what? How?
Hello. How did we get other countries regime
No,
change?
no, just answer. Stop. Just how?
We already got the USSR.
How?
We've already done
how?
it. Okay.
No, wait, I asked how. Just answer how.
We meddled in their elections, just like we did in '96 and the USSR when it fell apart.
Excuse me? What are we going to do?
The USSR fell apart, correct?
Yes.
Did we invade USSR to do that?
No.
Okay. How did that happen then? Explain.
The USSR was being managed horribly. They bankrupted themselves in Afghanistan. Their economy was on the fritz. They had alienated their allies in China and many other parts of the world. The members of the Warsaw Pact... Wait, no, I'm not done. I'm not done. The Warsaw Pact had grown increasingly distrustful of them because the Warsaw Pact saw the much higher standard of living in Western Europe. Wait, no, stop. I'm not done. Also, Russia kept invading their allies. The suppression of the Hungarian independence movement probably did a lot to ostracize them from their potential allies. Okay, there we go. So those are reasons why the Soviet Union...
None of those things answered my question.
No, you asked how did it collapse, and I answered.
Yeah, no, the answer is it collapsed by three guys who got together in a forest, just like with Woodrow Wilson with that island, Jekyll Island, and they got the
Did they cast a spell?
No, they basically said, well, in the Constitution, we could secede, right? Yeah, we could secede. Okay, so we could basically...
Who said this?
The presidents of Ukraine, Belarus, and Russia.
Oh, I thought you said that these were systemic issues and you shouldn't ascribe them to individual leaders.
Correct. These are systemic things.
So don't say three guys then. Say that the leadership of these nations wanted to secede. I wonder why they wanted to secede from Russia.
But you have to choose one. If I'm going to play by... Look, the fact is, this is how it actually happened legally. Okay, the United States had a similar thing, except they fought a war where millions were killed in order to, quote, preserve the Union. See, we don't let anybody secede. We only take and annex. We never let anyone secede.
You do know that the South started the war against the North, right?
Do I know that the South? Yeah, because Lincoln got elected. Yeah.
No. You're not just a victim blamer for Ukraine. You're a victim blamer for the Union. They fired on Fort Sumter.
I'm saying their declaration of independence, I think it was South Carolina that had their reason was that Lincoln wasn't even on the ballot and he got elected as the president of the Union. So they're like,
are you suggesting that they... Wait, hold on. Are you suggesting that they rigged the election for Lincoln?
I don't know. I think he won just because he was an abolitionist, and I think it was...
So wait, he won? Wait, are you seriously doing like Jan 6 election denialism for Lincoln, thus justifying Southern secession? What the fuck are you talking about?
I'm saying their stated fact. Just
what fact are you? What fact are you stating?
Paul got booed for stating why Osama bin Laden attacked the United States because
they attacked the United States because they were a slave society.
I'm not justifying Osama bin Laden. I'm not justifying.
What are you talking about? Are you
I'm talking
hold on
about the written document?
Did Lincoln barely win the election or not?
I wasn't there, and honestly, I don't know. I didn't research.
What do you mean? Then why did you say, well, he wasn't even on the ballot? Are you suggesting...
He wasn't on the ballot in most of the southern states. I guess you have to understand that people who live in a state, like, imagine this is Lukashenko, who you were going to say...
No, stop. You're doing it again. I want to know... So what do you think the odds are that Lincoln had the election rigged for him in the 1800s?
What do I think? I don't speak on things I have very little information on.
You did speak on it, though. You mentioned out of pocket with no fucking incentive to...
Secession was South Carolina saying Lincoln got elected. That's the reason why we're seceding.
Okay, so they seceded because they didn't like the results of a democratic election. Well, correct. Democratic for the time. Women weren't voting, but yeah.
That's what Eastern Ukraine, by the way, did when Yushchenko got elected in 2004. The reason that Yushchenko got...
I'm sorry, what happened?
Okay, so there was an election where that guy, Yanukovych, okay, the guy who didn't want to...
the extremely corrupt guy who was found to have attempted to rig the election?
Corrupt, but the other guys that we support, you don't talk about...
Wait, you mean this was the election where he was found to be extremely corrupt and he tried to cheat, right?
Dude, is Trump not extremely... We are extremely corrupt. Everyone's extremely corrupt.
It's just insane how much of a simp you are for authoritarians. Like, when it comes to something as basic and banal as... No, shut up. When it comes to something as basic and banal as like U.S. military base with allies, it's like, this is a sinister imperialist plot to control the narrative. George Bush talking with Ukraine was just trying to destroy Russia. And then when it's something like an authoritarian leader being found to be corrupt, or the South seceding, and you're like, well, hold on now, Sonny there, Jimbo boy. I actually think the South had some right mighty concerns about the Union and its, well, concerns and priorities. Like it's you don't have any principles, is what I'm saying, basically. Also, I'm always right. I'm saying that too.
All evil. They are all sending men to die, but they will never go to die because they'll just go to these conferences and drink their wine.
What are you talking about now? What new thing is this?
I'm dividing the regular people from these government people who are sending them to war because they failed.
Like Yanukovych.
To war. Yes, like Yanukovych, like Putin. Okay, yes,
okay.
I criticize them too. Do you want me to give you a list of criticisms of Russia? Russia funded rebels in 2014 in the Donbass region. Had they not done that, we would not have this war. There's a lot of things I could say about Russia. Russia razed Chechnya's capital to the ground. Look, the UN doesn't get involved with these things because they're internal matters. I care. I care about people. I don't care about flags or countries. This is what is the difference between a real libertarian who cares about liberty and people more than these ideas that these borders will never change, and Kosovo's a one-off, and it's never going to happen again. Like these are stupid
okay. So
systems.
So the people of Ukraine. So let's talk about people. The people of Ukraine overwhelmingly support Zelensky. Overwhelmingly want to join the EU. Overwhelmingly want NATO, and overwhelmingly want U.S. armed support. Why shouldn't we?
This year, that's true. Yes. What's your point?
Well,
why is it that? Why? Okay, so there you go. So you only care about the people's opinion when it agrees with your own, right?
No, I care about now, the time period that I exist in now, and not that time period.
So at least, look, stop saying false things like Russia invaded Ukraine in 2014, like you said last.
They did. You just admitted to it too. You literally just said that. You just said.
I didn't say it had boots on the ground.
They did end up having boots on the ground. They were literally found with Russian military equipment and personnel photographed in the Donbass. That's what we do.
NATO gives military equipment.
So wait, hold on. You just did it again. They had troops on the ground, as in they were Russian soldiers.
Okay, let's actually state facts and not just like wild conjecture. Where were these troops?
In the Donbass.
You mean they were in Crimea?
No, I mean in the Donbass.
The green. Okay, you're talking about the polite people, the green people.
What?
They were called, the green people, the green aliens, whatever.
I don't know what you're talking about. There were Russian soldiers in the Donbass. This isn't a secret. This has been known for years.
If you're talking, okay, are you talking about like Strelkov, Motorola, like these guys?
I don't understand what you're. If you Google Russian soldiers in Donbass, but then like select for articles from before 2022.
Yeah, I always select for articles from that time. You just do before : and then you put the year. It's actually very good on Google. I encourage everyone to do this because back then we spoke honestly about what's going on in Ukraine, and today we don't.
Yeah, Chad is saying that the little green men is a term that was used for soldiers in the Donbass at the time, which I did not know.
Okay, well, I'm sorry to say, the green men were actually in Crimea, and that was the referendum that was held there, and they were being blamed for having armed people in Crimea. Oh. Now, here's the thing. Yeah.
So, but they were also in the Donbass.
Okay, hold up a second. So let me take one at a time. First Crimea, and then I'll get to
stop. Wait, nobody's talking about Crimea. Why would you one at a time? I talked
about Crimea before when you said Russia annexed it.
Yeah, we were talking about there being troops in the Donbass.
Okay, do you want to go with that first and then go to Crimea?
Because nobody's talking about Crimea.
Yes, we were. I'm sorry. No, you don't get to do this.
No, I'm not doing it. You brought it up. You brought it up, and then you're like, well, hold on. Well, like, do you want to talk about each other? I don't want to talk about Crimea. I don't want to talk about any of this. It's a settled issue. The universe, God has already decided in my favor. Everything aligns with my perspective here. There's no argument to be had. You're the guy who says
that people should have their government in check, but then also says the government has the right to be.
Oh, yeah, and yet the people of Ukraine want us to give them weapons. So should we give Ukraine weapons? The people of Ukraine want it.
Do you think that people should have given Gaza weapons? Does it make them safer?
What the? No, stop answering questions by not answering them. You say you want no, stop. You want the people to be represented, right? So here's the question then. If Ukrainians overwhelmingly want EU participation, NATO participation, and US military support,
As far as I'm concerned,
Then they should have it? Oh, great.
Was an idiot.
Great.
Yeah.
Then there we go.
But that's not the point. You're making a different
It
point.
is the point. Then no, that's the point. That's the point.
I
We
mean,
made it. We made the point.
Okay, you're just like dancing around and just okay. The point is that governments create these problems originally, and they have secret meetings.
Yeah, Russia.
Like the one. Here's a list of secret
by doing
meetings.
the invasion.
Can you? Okay, I'm gonna let you talk. Say everything you want, and then let me respond. That's all I ask.
Yeah, Russia caused the problem by doing the invasion.
Okay, what year was the invasion?
2014. Then they upped it in 2022.
So what was the United States doing in Ukraine in 2013, fomenting the revolution?
Did we send our military there? No? Okay. Oh, did he just drop out? He probably would have answered yes to that. Can you move the convo to another topic? Do you think any topic would last for more than 8 seconds? Hello?
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened there.
It's been known to happen with 5G. You know how it goes. Right. So, okay, what was the U.S.? Did the U.S. send soldiers in 2013?
What was the U.S. doing there in 2013 with John McCain?
Were we invading them?
We were fomenting. We were telling them that their futures in Ukraine, they should basically. The revolution was happening, and we were.
What revolution in 2013?
2013, the crowds were there against Yanukovych.
Crowds? Those are protests.
Yes, that's what happens when Trump goes out. You agree that that's bad. We shouldn't destroy the democratic system, right?
Yes. Wait, hold on. Wait, stop. You're doing it again. So I think protests are fine, but if the protest is for something bad, I think the protest is bad. So
wait a second. Bad is doing a lot of work there. Bad.
Yeah, it's almost like it's an ethical judgment.
Dude, okay. So you're basically saying, I'm just trying to steel man your argument. If people are doing protesting something bad, then like
okay. Wait. Let me try this a bit simpler for you. If a thing is good, it's good.
That totally clears it up.
Right.
Thanks.
So January 6th was bad because the thing they were doing was bad, not because protests are bad. Protests can be good or bad. It depends on what they're doing.
What if the protests result in a revolution that takes the sitting president and the government out of power, and then there's a counter-revolution?
It didn't take the government out of power.
Well, in this case, but other cases, yes, it does.
What other? Wait, no. Then what? I don't know why other case. It would depend on it. If a revolution took a Nazi leader out of power, then of course I would think that's good. Well, how are you saying you're a libertarian? Then you're like, bro, you can't rise up against the state. What the fuck are you talking about?
I would very much like to take the state and get the technology to replace many of its functions like we've been doing.
This has nothing to do with what we were talking about. So you think you should never rise up against authoritarians? You think we should just sort of deal with it, be cuckboys? Cuck?
Look, the history of rising up against authoritarians, even authoritarians, leads to worse outcomes.
So you're okay. So you're a anti-statist. I see. So you're a libertarian, but don't you protest the government? Like that's actually your position.
I'm opposed to violence, and I'm opposed to solving problems with violence. I think voting is an adequate mechanism by getting in a democratic. Ukraine was democratic. All they had to do was have a freaking election. Okay?
Except, well, hold on now. Except Yanukovych was passing what were called the black laws, the anti-protest laws, so severe that it would have allowed him to arrest his opposition.
Except he already said that he would actually take them out, and that was his
he said? I'm sorry. Hey, I'm going to have my political party pass these 8 hyper-authoritarian anti-protest laws that would give me total control over the country. But don't worry, I'm only doing them for emergency powers.
You do realize that Zelensky canceled the elections in 2024 for that same reason, and the Constitution of Ukraine
Really, I wonder, is anything happening in Ukraine right now that makes it really difficult to run a functioning democracy?
So when he does
wait, hold on. That wasn't rhetorical. Is there anything? Wait, I'm curious. I want to know because you're so knowledgeable.
Nuance for me, but
what's happening? Well, what's happening in Ukraine? That's crazy. Canceled elections? Well, hold on. Wait. Canceling elections is seriously bad. Countries don't normally do that unless they're in active war, like being invaded or something. So what happened in Ukraine that
What happened in Ukraine was that every peace agreement that could have happened was
wait. What does this have to? Wait. You were talking about canceling elections. What? I'm sorry. What happened in Ukraine to lead to that? That's crazy.
I'm telling you what happened.
So what
The
happened in
government,
Ukraine that led to the cancellation of the elections? Did Zelensky say what it was? Did he mention that? Or was it just he was ambiguous? Did he just say because
are
he
you going
wanted
to
to?
say, you're so simplistic? Oh, there's a
No, wait,
war.
then
And
just
that's why you
answer. Wait,
cancel.
what did he say? What did he say? You can't
Okay,
say
the
it.
United States
You
had
you
elections during
notice
a
you
war.
notice the
States
you.
don't.
I like how the first words out of your mouth were United States because you're a hack. You can't answer because you know
Any
you're
country.
lying.
This is the one you know, but I could say France.
So
There's a
wait,
lot of
answer
countries.
the question. Wait, hold on. Wait, really quickly, okay? Because I don't want you to feel as
Sure.
though you can do this forever and get away with it. All right? Here's
I'm trying to
no,
do
no, no.
this
Hold
in
on. Wait,
good
wait.
faith.
It's a. There's one correct answer. What happened in Ukraine to lead to the elections being canceled? Call ends if you get it wrong.
There is a war.
Oh, look at that. If it means you get to keep blathering to my audience, it seems you're capable of a succinct and correct answer. Maybe try those more in the future, and I'll
And you'll what?
get a couple answers out of you.
You'll let me speak. Actually, I would love that
Oh, I
because I
didn't.
want
Whoa,
your
whoa, whoa.
audience
Let's
to
not go
understand.
overboard here.
Okay, look, dude, you're a libertarian, but everything you say is this government is totally within its rights to do this, and that government can totally go ahead and cancel elections and whatever. And protests are okay if
And
the
yet, I'm
government is
not
bad.
okay with Yanukovych becoming an authoritarian leader by pushing forward a bunch of anti-protest laws that would have given him total power.
I am consistent. I am saying when Yushchenko was doing unpopular things, you're saying, well, that's okay because I think that's good. And when Yanukovych is blocking an agreement with the EU, which is stupid, by the way, and again, abuse, I agree with you there. I can agree with you, by the way, but you don't agree with me. You can only criticize one country, and that's your problem. I criticize both. I'm not saying Russia's good, Russia's evil. Okay, but we're evil too. I'm not saying we, I'm saying the government of the United States is a machine that cannot be stopped. Okay, and Russia's government also. My position is even handed. You are a jingoist for the US, I guess. I don't know. Like, you never talk about its crimes or whatever. I don't know.
That's true. I've never talked about it in the history of my channel.
I can't say that. I don't listen to you that much.
It comes up from time to time.
So look, I've interviewed Chomsky, I've interviewed David Harvey just recently, and a few other people. They all agree with what I'm saying. A lot of the Pope agrees with what I'm saying. Most of India, China, the global South.
The Pope is in
billions of
favor
people.
of Russia invading Ukraine.
The Pope said that it was NATO's fault that Russia invaded.
Do you take his advice on all issues, like vis-a-vis raping children? Do you think that he's a good like political and moral guide to all issues?
No, but when Tulsi Gabbard and Noam Chomsky and the Pope and hundreds of other leaders agree, and everyone agrees except the NATO countries.
Well, not Ukrainians. Sorry, I just listen to the people. You're listening to leaders like the Pope, and I think that's rather oligarchical of you. I'm listening to the good, honest proletariat over in Ukraine.
So let me ask you, what about the good, honest proletariat outside of the NATO bubble? Do you listen to them at all?
Ukraine isn't in NATO.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying when you poll people in India, for example, the majority blame NATO before they blame Russia. The majority,
the
and that's a billion people.
The UN vote, which condemned which was on the resolution to condemn Russia for the invasion of Ukraine, had a vast majority of countries side to condemn.
Yeah, I know this is your gimmick, but I'll tell you there was a more recent UN vote to condemn even more overwhelmingly the United States embargo on Cuba, and we don't give a shit.
If a guy in India...
You can't prove that. You can't use that to prove. Look,
if a guy in India said that he thought that
not a guy.
Muslims were subhuman... Wait, shut up. If a guy in India was like, I think Muslims are subhuman, do you think he'd be right to say that?
No, but the population, you need to deal with what the public
the population of India doesn't have strong positive opinions on Muslims.
The public.
The public in India doesn't have. So do you think Islamophobia is good?
I just said the public always. The three words I said. So the public always has people like yourself.
That's not three words.
Who can be easily
So wait, answer. Wait.
Propaganda.
You're not answering. Wait, don't make me do the thing again.
Which thing? There's so many things.
Yeah, there are so many things, but they come back to repeating patterns, which we can identify and hopefully prevent in the future.
You don't criticize the government.
So hold on. I want an answer. Would an Indian person be correct if they were Islamophobic?
If by Islamophobic literally means afraid of Muslims, I mean, Muslims did kill them about 60 years ago.
Oh my God, dude!
he also killed Muslims. There was
Wow,
a civil
your
war.
brain is actual soup. You don't have like an overriding
I am
ideology
literally
besides
directly answering your
contrarianism.
question. You don't
So
like
you're
my
so wait,
answer.
hold on. So you think that bigotry against Muslims is okay because they're bigoted against Muslims? What's the
The word "okay" is this first world thing.
Jesus
Dude, they
Christ? Oh
literally
man,
killed a
wait. Okay,
million people.
we can. I guess we can like stop pretending to take this even remotely seriously.
Oh, is it
Okay.
okay? Is it okay to be bigoted?
Well,
And then
you
meanwhile, there's
literally just
genocide.
justified bigotry. Like the people in Kashmir are
Dude,
heavily
is it
oppressed.
okay to be bigoted against the Ottoman, against the Young Turks for genociding Armenians? Well, if you ask the Young Turks, no, it's not okay
What the
because it
fuck are
was
you talking about? I don't.
they say it was a civil war, but
I
to the
don't.
people
I
who
don't
died,
know. I don't do anything with the Young Turks these days except for make
here's
fun
my
of them.
point.
What? Why
My
did you
point.
switch to another topic again?
I
Why
am
do you
trying
always
to be
hold
as
on? Wait,
direct-
really quickly. Listen, okay. As somebody
Yeah.
who's been complimented a couple of times on his amazing brain, all right, I want to give you a little bit of advice, all right?
Richard Hart.
No. Wait, no, stop. You're doing it again. You're talking to yourself. This is
Andrew
fine.
Tate
This is fine
coming up.
now because you're young, but one day you're going to be
Congratulating
old
himself.
and you're not going to be able to get across the medication needs you have to the geriatrics next to you in the retirement home. I'm trying to help you now, okay? If you're
Thanks.
having a
Well, you admitted-
conversation, no, I'm helping. If
Don't
you're
wanna
having
bring
a
up the ADD, go
conversation,
ahead.
if you're having if you're having a conversation with somebody, okay, and you're having a conversation about a specific topic, stick to that topic, and if they ask you a question, don't answer it by bringing up another topic. I'm deprogramming
Dude, you're
you.
the guy who admitted that you used to have ADD or you still have ADD. Why are you telling me that
First of all, I said,
jumping-
wait, first of all, I said ADHD. Second of all, I still have it. And third of all, isn't it a little bit embarrassing that you're the one acting attention deficit? Is this like a projection thing? Because you could benefit
I
from
don't
Adderall
know.
more than
I
me.
just found it ironic because you're
Ironic
constantly
that I
cutting me
can
off.
keep on a subject and you can't. This is what I mean, man. And by the way, no, I'm actually I'm gonna be ableist, okay? I actually do think
Sure,
you have brain.
please.
No, it's fine. No, you can learn from this. I think
I
you
can
have brain
take it.
problems. You sent me multiple emails prior to this conversation where you structured out
Mm-hmm.
all the things you wanted to talk about, but you can't talk about any of them because the
Because
moment.
you- I've asked you
No.
to
This is
put
one
those
way.
links
This
on
is
the
one way.
screen.
You can't talk about any of them because the nanosecond you get asked a question you don't have an answer for, which is most, you pivot to another topic. You haven't thought about these positions besides your contrarian
thought
tendencies.
about them,
No,
and
you
my
haven't.
answers
No.
are
You
directly
haven't thought. No,
answering your
you
question.
haven't. Because thinking about a position means thinking
Take
about
the last
challenges to
question.
it. You don't think about challenges to
Boss.
your position. You think about you thinking about your positions. You think about
Boss,
how
I
smart you are.
understand. You love to say about how smart you are and how you're always
You don't
right.
think.
Boss,
You
literally listen
assume.
to your last question to me.
It's like
Is
Elon
it
Musk
okay?
behavior, which is
Put
why
your
you like
question-
AI. Let's
This
go
is-
all the way
this is what-
back. No.
No,
I'm dragging
we
it.
won't go all the way back.
We're
Question.
flashing back. Okay, we're
Yes.
flashing
No,
all the way
we're not
back. I
flashing
want to
back.
know. I want to know right now.
Go ahead. What?
How would
You're
AI
doing this.
teach
You're always doing it.
children?
AI was like an
How
hour ago.
would
I'll get to
AI teach children? How would AI
think
teach
you're
children?
dodging- I think you're realizing right now that the last question you asked me was.
You notice
is it
how you're
okay
not
to be
answering it
bigoted
again?
against
You're doing
Muslims?
it again. You don't have an answer to that question, so you pivot
I
away
do
from it
have an
because you're
answer.
uncomfortable. Then answer. Answer it. Just answer it. Just answer it.
Okay, give me 10 seconds of speech and I will.
How? Okay, but to be clear, the question is, how would you like AI to teach children? That is the question. Now answer that question and
You asked
no
me, is
other.
it- and then can I answer, is it okay to be bigoted against Muslims? in
No,
India?
we're
that
we're
was the
past that
question.
topic. That topic is
Why?
done.
Why are we past that topic when you did
'Cause
this
I
whole
said so, 'cause
tirade
it's not
about
a
me
democracy.
answering that question? You just had this whole tirade about me not answering that question.
This
and now
Discord
I'm
call
telling
is a
you-
tiny state, and I don't like how you're challenging state power. You're allowed to vote. Wait 3 years, okay? You can vote on what topic you want to discuss next. Until then, I'm the one who rules this call, and you are going to answer the
Do we
question.
get to go back to the question that
In
you
3
blame me for not
years.
answering?
In 3 years.
By the way, I have answered it in the deepest
How would
possible
AI
way.
right now?
A million
How
people got
would
killed, yes,
AI
to be
teach
bigoted
children?
against people
How would AI teach children?
on both sides. So how did I slipped that in there? The answer to your other question. Okay. So how would the AI teach children? My short answer is go listen to Salman Khan's 1 hour beautiful lecture
This is not
about
an
the
answer.
2 sigma. Okay, do you know what the 2 sigma phenomenon is?
No, and I don't
There's a
care.
book. But that's the answer to your question.
Then
AI
summarize it.
Okay. The AI is a personal tutor for everybody. It remembers what the kid actually has a problem with. And the teacher is one to many. So the teacher cannot possibly have a one-to-one conversation with their whole class.
Who
Okay?
determines the curriculum?
A lot of people through a process, a systemic process.
Through a process. Well,
Just like
consider my fears put to bed.
Oh yeah, like the like the public school curriculum right now isn't put together by a committee, sure.
It is put together by a committee.
So then why can't they put together an AI trained on
So
those
who puts
same books?
together the AI committee?
The AI can just be first of all trained on the textbooks, and actually it will engage, and you
Which
can engage with
textbooks?
a PDF and with any textbooks, my friend.
Any?
That's
Wait,
what
wait,
the
wait,
AI.
wait, wait. Textbooks contradict each other.
The same textbooks that the teacher currently teaches from, the AI can be trained
Which?
on.
Which edition? Which model? Which
Depends
district?
on the city, the district, and depends on the
So
local
you want the AI to be
college.
taught differently based on the pedagogy of the
I'm
area it
saying
was
the
already
current
in?
system selects current textbook materials now. Those same freaking materials can be used to train an AI, okay, for tutoring.
So you would just have the curriculum be determined by the smattering of textbooks, regardless of their quality or accuracy, fed into the AI?
I think you're just trying to argue for argument's sake at this point.
Well, you
The
might think
AI is
that
a
because you're
tool.
not physically capable of comprehending the problem with this idea.
Okay, Mr. Ableist. Here's the thing. I'm trying to tell you that the AI can currently do something that Socrates was complaining about. He said, you know, books dumb people down because the book always says the same thing. If you inquire of the book,
But
it'll say
you're
the same thing.
training the
Well,
AI
now
on
it
the
doesn't.
content of the books.
Yes. Have you
So,
ever
so it's going to
used
be saying the same thing. How would the AI create new knowledge if all it's doing is regurgitating information? Why not just
it's
have
not
the
only
kids read the book?
first of all, unfortunately, today's kids don't read as much as they did 20 years ago, which goes back to my conservative tirade.
Then
But the
fix
thing
that.
is,
You think kids are going to
people
sit
aren't.
down for 4 hours of being lectured by Chat GPT?
No,
Like
lecture
kids
is
that don't want to
stupid.
read are going to like denigrate themselves by taking lessons from a fucking AI, from a fucking abomination.
I could tell you that your ADHD was most likely overdiagnosed because that's statistically the case.
Because I'm running circles around you with complete attention and focus.
Yeah, you're so
Hyper
smart.
attention deficit, more
That's
like
why.
hyper attention focused.
Exactly, bro. No, you're so smart. Maybe you're on Ritalin right
Thanks.
now.
So answer
But
the
what I'm
question, right? Make me
yeah,
smarter. Answer the question. So, why would any kid listen to this if they can't read a book? I mean,
to this. So people don't even have to. Adults and kids get addicted to their thing. There's people that did I forgot crap. I forgot there was a company that made companions for people. Maybe one of your listeners can bring it up.
oh, you mean the
That company
highly unethical program that exploited lonely
correct.
people's need for
Correct.
intimacy? Oh, okay.
Correct.
And we'll give this to our
Technology.
6-year-olds.
So no, again, I am not in favor of exploit. I'm saying the current systems are even worse, and I'm saying we have an obligation to build good systems, systems that empower people. Diagnosing you
How
with
are you
ADHD,
empowering
giving you
people?
amphetamines is you think that's good. You think that they helped you, and they did. But again, it could have been missed and over-diagnosed. You don't
Why?
know.
How do you? Why do you pretend to act as though you know more about my psychiatric
I don't.
status
It's
than
a
I do?
statistical thing. It's
So yeah, but
over-diagnosed.
it speaks to your general lack of knowledge, where you have vague ideas that you gesture at, but when you think of
These
any
are not vague.
particulars, the most you're left
I've
with
spent
is, well,
years.
maybe your condition isn't real.
Actually, it's very real. It is the outcome of today's society. Both your parents
How do
likely
you
work.
know?
I don't know. I said likely.
Likely the outcome.
Statistic.
Okay, I think, I mean, frankly, I think that you have several forms of brain damage, and it probably had something to do with you reading a self-help book written by an AI guru. So
Well,
we
I'm in
can
awe of your debate
diagnose each
technique.
other. The only difference between your diagnosis and mine is that I'm correct. So again,
No, I'm
like,
trying to be empathetic to all these kids.
why
And
would a kid
yeah.
sit there and listen and take lessons from an abomination?
By the way, after this, I want to fresh air. I want to agree with you. There's things we agree on,
Well, this
and I
this
want to
can't
bring
last
them.
much longer. I'm an hour over time. I said we'd go up to
Okay.
2 hours, and if I recall, you have a flight. So I don't know how much time, or I guess
I've got
emotional
about 10
capacity
minutes.
we have for a
Let
brief.
10, 15 minutes.
Okay, then
Let's go.
tell me,
Yeah.
please, why any kid
Folks,
would listen.
kids love technology. They play with it. You don't have to force them to do so.
To
What
learn
you have
history lessons?
what you have to do is make the technology responsible and educational. Just like the TikTok videos in China versus the United States. You can give children candy and make them obese with diabetes, which happens in this country, and the government
Stop
actually
getting distracted. You're doing it again. I genuinely think you have worse ADHD than I do, and that's not a
I'm
joke or
trying
a
to make
dig.
points to your listeners that are systemic and important, and you're just interested in winning.
You're being dragged by 16 dogs you have on leashes that have been bolted to your
If
wrist.
you
You have
give
no control
children
over which
candy-
topics you talk about.
If you give children candy, try to follow this. They get diabetes early.
Why are we
diabetes
talking about this? Answer the
because
fucking
Try to
question.
use metaphors. It's a metaphor.
Answer
for
the question or I
education,
end the
bro.
call.
I'm trying to be nice.
Answer the question or I end the call.
I am answering the question.
All right. Why would kids listen?
Kids don't have to be told to listen. They like playing with technology. That's not the question. The question should be...
We have Duolingo already. Why wouldn't every kid just spend 4 hours a day learning other languages with Duolingo?
Duolingo's boring to kids. It's not the right
So, and your AI will magically not be boring.
It's not my AI. It's happening. You can't stop.
No, kids are not spending 4 hours looking up history lessons on ChatGPT right now.
You know
They
what?
could do that right now if
this?
they wanted.
You win. I'm an idiot on this topic. Can I bring up something that we agree on?
No, I like the part where you admit you're wrong. Continue with that.
Okay. Self-immolation. You, sir, are a genius, and I happen to have brain damage, which prevents
You
me
can fix
from
this.
understanding.
Don't pity
Please,
party me.
educate me.
Don't no,
How
don't
can I-
no.
please,
I don't feel bad for
tell
you.
me.
Okay, these ideas
feel
are
bad.
bad. You
Tell
can
me how I'm
fix them.
supposed to
You can
think.
fix them. You can
Tell
have.
me how I'm supposed to think, sir. Listen. You're the genius. I need to get some genius points. Please tell me what I'm supposed to say. What am I supposed to say?
Okay, when talking about the Ukraine war, don't randomly jump to Southern secession in the United States and then follow it up with, well, Lincoln probably cheated.
I did not say he cheated. You put words in my mouth.
You were like, well, they say that his name didn't even show up in the ballots.
That was their fault. They didn't put him on the ballot.
Then of what fucking relevance is it?
He still won, though.
Yeah, so what relevance is that at all to claims of illegitimate governance?
That's exactly what happened in Ukraine 2004. You don't care. I sent you the links. I sent you the articles. You'll never put it in front of your listeners. You have the links right there. You could put it up on your screen. No, I don't.
In front of me is Binding of Isaac, riveting Binding of Isaac gameplay.
I'm sorry. Maybe I'm mistaken. I've repeatedly asked you by email. Here are the links. Can you please, during our discussion...
Yeah, I didn't say I would. You just asked all that because you have ADHD that's undiagnosed. You sent me like 7 emails with different links. I wouldn't agree to those terms if you were the fucking Pope. But you sent them all to me, and I respect the passion, by the way. I think that's genuinely enviable. But you
want to help people.
You're honestly. The dogs, the chain. Get Adderall. Wait, what country are you in?
I'm in LA right now.
You're in LA. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, American psychiatric access isn't great, but it's not the worst in the world. Seriously, you should try Adderall, okay? There's Adderall, there's Vyvanse, there's Ritalin. Those are the main ones.
You're part of the problem, man.
No. This is part of the solution.
Do you understand that in Finland there is very low prevalence of ADHD because kids actually get to climb trees and have like 4-hour school days instead of 8 hours?
When was the last time you climbed a tree? That's what
actually,
I thought. Maybe it's time to get on Adderall then.
No, I'm still young at heart. Dude, I want to talk to you about something else which will trigger you also, and then we can end on that. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Or before that. Okay, sorry, I don't want to shock you. I'll just say this. One link. I'll reveal my last name. I'll dox myself. Why not?
Well, I wouldn't reveal your name.
Okay. Well, then, no. I think it's important for people to go and read the one page with all the links to CNN, NATO website, and New York Times, like mainstream news, because they're not getting the full context of this war from your and the mainstream media.
Provide a link, please.
Should I? I don't know. How badly am I going to get attacked?
Well, wait. I'm not. If it has your name on it, I'm not going to show it on screen.
Well, I've emailed you the link. The link has all those other links.
Okay, he's not lying. I think he thinks everything that he says, but it's crazy how he kept saying Nazi shit. Like, every time. Like, Islamophobia is okay by Indian people because they're justified. Like, every kind of apologism in Ukraine imaginable, randomly saying that, like, it's the South seceding and the tyrannical U.S. government wouldn't let them go or whatever. Like, and then Lincoln, like, might have cheated. There's, like, so much shit. Holy fuck.